The air was colder than it should have been. It was late October in rural Ohio, the kind of night where the sky seemed stitched shut with black clouds, and the wind carried the taste of rain and iron. At 2:12 a.m., the only light on the county highway came from a single broken street lamp flickering above the abandoned Riverside bus stop. No one was supposed to be there, yet Adam Fletcher, 28, stood shivering under the buzzing lamp. He had been walking since midnight, after his car broke down miles back. His phone battery had died just before he could call a tow. The highway stretched endlessly in both directions, lined with dead trees swaying like skeletal arms. Every sound, the crackle of leaves, the snap of branches, seemed too loud in the silence. When Adam finally saw headlights in the distance, he felt relief, until he noticed something strange. The bus was ancient, its paint peeled in jagged strips, its windows smeared with grime. The headlights flickered like candle flames, almost gasping. It wasn't part of the modern Greyhound line he was used to seeing. Still, it stopped for him with a metallic groan, the doors hissing open. The driver was an old man with a hollow face, eyes hidden under the shadow of his cap. His voice rasped like sandpaper. "Where to?" Blackthorn Road. "Near Ashbury Town," Adam said. The driver tilted his head. "That's a long way. Dangerous at this hour." "I'll pay extra," Adam muttered, already climbing aboard. Inside, the bus smelled of mildew and rust. Only a few dim overhead lights worked, casting the rows of cracked leather seats in uneven shadows. Adam was the only passenger. The driver shut the doors with a hiss. The bus lurched forward. For a while, there was only silence, broken by the steady groan of the engine and the whisper of tires on asphalt. Adam tried to relax, but something about the bus felt wrong. He glanced at the scratched glass of the window. Outside, the trees looked unfamiliar, bending in strange shapes. The further they went, the darker the road became, as though the headlights swallowed light instead of casting it. The driver began humming, a slow, broken tune, a hymn, maybe, or a lullaby, but each note felt off, stretched, and warped, like a voice echoing in a cave. Adam shifted in his seat. He caught the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. The man was staring straight at him, not at the road, not at the mirrors, at him. Adam quickly pulled out his phone. Dead, of course. He pretended to talk anyway. "Yeah, I'll be home soon. Don't worry. The house is fine. Yes, I'll lock up. No one else is there, just me." The driver's humming stopped. His voice crawled up the aisle like smoke. "You live alone?" Adam froze. "Why?" The driver smiled, a stretched, unnatural grin. "Just curious." The bus rumbled deeper into the woods. No street signs, no familiar markers. It felt like they had slipped off the map entirely. After 20 minutes, Adam stood and pulled the cord. "Stop here. This is close enough." The bus screeched to a halt before a massive wrought iron gate. Beyond it loomed Blackthorn House, a decaying mansion shrouded in ivy, its broken windows reflecting moonlight like empty eyes. The sign on the gate, barely legible under rust, read, "Blackthorn Estate. Keep out." Adam stepped off quickly, eager to get away from the driver. He reached for his wallet. The driver caught his wrist. His hand was cold. Too cold. "1 cup of tea," the driver whispered. "Invite me in. Just 1 cup." Adam yanked free, heart hammering. He bolted through the gates, up the cracked stone path, toward the mansion. He didn't look back. Only once he was inside the gate did he realize his phone was gone. He spun around, but the bus was already pulling away into the night. Its taillights vanished unnaturally fast, as though the road had swallowed it whole. The driver parked miles away. On a deserted stretch of road, he pulled Adam's phone from his pocket. It was sleek, expensive, but the screen was already on, glowing faintly. Dozens of missed calls, every single one from a contact labeled, "Do not answer." The driver chuckled. Probably some joke, He opened the call log. The last call had been made 3 minutes ago. From inside Blackthorn House, he froze. The phone slipped in his hand. Then he smiled again. So, the man wasn't alone after all. A thought crawled into his mind. Why not return the phone? And while inside, take what he wanted. He had done it before, many times. He knew how to make people scream quietly. He slipped a knife from beneath his seat, its blade catching the dim light. Just one visit, he muttered, and he turned the bus around. Back at the mansion, Adam's chest heaved as he stared up at the decaying facade. The front doors stood half open, as if welcoming him. The air carried a faint stench like wet soil, and something rotting. He stepped forward cautiously. The floorboards groaned under his weight. Cobwebs clung to the high archways. Shadows seemed to move along the walls, even though nothing stirred. In the main hall, a grand staircase rose into darkness, and at the top of the stairs, he thought he saw someone. A figure, tall, still watching. "Hello," Adam's voice cracked. No response. The figure melted into the shadows. His pulse thundered. Maybe his eyes were playing tricks. He backed toward the door and froze. The door was shut. He hadn't closed it. Meanwhile, the driver pulled the bus up outside the estate. He left the engine idling and gripped his knife. The gate creaked as he pushed it open. The mansion loomed above, black against the sky. Every instinct told him not to enter, but greed and hunger pushed him forward. He stepped inside the front hall. The door closed softly behind him. He hadn't touched it. "Hello?" he called, smirking. His voice echoed strangely, as if the walls swallowed the sound. From upstairs, faintly, came the sound of water dripping. He followed it, up the staircase, down a hallway where wallpaper peeled in strips, to a bathroom at the end. The door was closed. He tightened his grip on the knife. Perfect. He'd done this before. He flung the door open. What he saw made the knife clatter to the ground. The bathtub overflowed with thick black water, and floating inside were bodies, dozens of them, pale, bloated, their faces frozen in silent screams. Each one wore the same driver's uniform as him. He stumbled back, gagging on the stench. His knees hit the tiles. He turned toward the door, but it slammed shut. Standing there was Adam, but his eyes were wrong. Black, endless. His smile stretched impossibly wide. "You're not the first," Adam whispered, "and you won't be the last." The driver screamed, and Blackthorn House swallowed another soul. The house never forgot. Not the footsteps that crossed its rotting floors, not the voices that dared to whisper its name, and certainly not the faces of those who stepped inside and never left. Adam Fletcher didn't know that yet. He only knew the mansion looked older than time itself, its ivy-choked walls leaning like they wanted to collapse but never would. The air around it clung to his lungs, thick with mildew and copper. Every breath made him feel like he was inhaling grave soil. Inside, the silence pressed against his ears like water. The door had shut behind him, though he hadn't touched it. He tried the knob. Locked. The wood felt warm under his hand, as though someone else had just pressed it from the other side. "Hello." His voice cracked through the stillness. Nothing answered. Only the faint tick, tick, tick of water dripping somewhere upstairs. Adam turned slowly in the grand entryway. The mansion was huge. A sweeping staircase rose into darkness, its carpet moth-eaten and torn. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts. Portraits lined the walls, their oil-painted faces warped with time. Yet every pair of eyes seemed fixed directly on him. He swallowed. He'd never believed in haunted houses. Ghost stories belonged to late-night campfires and cheap horror movies. But here, in the stillness of Blackthorn House, his disbelief faltered. His phone he remembered too late. The driver had taken it. "Damn it," Adam muttered. His voice sounded too loud, like it wasn't alone. He stepped forward. The floorboards groaned beneath his boots. That's when he noticed the smell. Rotting wood, wet stone, but something else too. Something sharper, like iron, like blood. Adam tried to convince himself to leave, to pound on the door until it opened. But then he remembered the highway. Miles of black road, no phone, no light, no passing cars. If he left the mansion, he'd be swallowed by that endless dark. Inside, at least, there was shelter. At least, that's what he told himself. So he moved deeper into the hall. His footsteps echoed strangely. Not just one echo, but many, like others, were following at a slight delay. When he stopped, the echoes stopped a second too late. He passed the portraits. One showed a stern man in a black suit, his face painted, with sharp lines. Another showed a pale woman with hollow eyes. Yet when Adam leaned closer, the paint didn't look like paint at all. The texture seemed different, like cracked, dried skin. He stumbled back, gagging. The eyes in the painting glistened, wet, alive, watching Jesus Christ. Adam whispered, forcing himself to look away. The dripping sound upstairs grew louder. He climbed the staircase, each step whining under his weight. The railing was cold, slick, almost slimy. Halfway up, he froze. There was music, faint, coming from above, a piano. Slow, deliberate notes echoing through the house. The kind of melody played at a funeral. Adam's chest tightened. No, one had touched the piano. He had seen it in the corner of the hall when he entered, covered in dust, keys yellowed with age. But the music played soft, relentless at the top of the stairs. A hallway stretched long and narrow, wallpaper peeled in curling sheets. A door at the far end was cracked open, faint light spilling from inside. The music came from there. Adam approached carefully. Each step seemed louder than the last, his heartbeat slamming in his ears. He reached the door, placed his hand on the frame, and pushed. The light inside flickered like candle flames. The music stopped. The room was empty. No, not empty. A grand piano sat in the center, its lid open. The keys were wet, glistening as though someone had pressed them with bloodied fingers. On the wall behind the piano, words were scratched deep into the plaster. Adam stepped closer, eyes straining to read. "Welcome home, Adam." His throat closed. He stumbled back, knocking into a chair. It toppled with a crash that echoed far too long. From the piano, one key pressed down by itself, a single sharp note, then another, then another. The melody began again. Playing without hands, Adam backed toward the door and saw movement in the mirror hanging on the wall. His reflection was wrong. It stared at him with wide, black eyes. Its smile stretched too far, splitting its face in two. Something inhuman. Adam turned, heart hammering. The mirror was cracked, warped. His reflection moved even when he stood still. The reflection whispered, "You've been here before." The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. The piano stopped, and from the hallway, Adam heard footsteps, slow, heavy, coming closer. Meanwhile, outside, the bus driver's scream had already died inside the mansion. His knife lay abandoned on the bathroom floor, rusted as though it had been there for years. The black water in the tub rippled once, then stilled. The house had claimed him, as it had claimed countless others, and it remembered them all. Adam pressed himself against the wall, trying to steady his breathing. The footsteps outside drew closer. He clutched the broken chair leg, the only weapon he could find. The door creaked open by itself. The hallway was empty. Then from the shadows at the far end, a whisper floated. "Adam." He spun, but there was no one there. The door slammed shut, again, trapping him inside. The piano roared with sound, every key pressed at once, a deafening scream of music. The mirror shattered. Adam raised his arms to shield himself, and when he lowered them, the room was gone. He stood instead in a different hallway. The mansion had changed, its walls bent at impossible angles. Doors lined the corridor, each one whispering with faint voices behind them. Some wept, some laughed, some begged, and Adam knew, without knowing why every voice belonged to someone the house had taken. The hallway stretched endlessly, no way back. Adam tightened his grip on the chair leg. His voice shook, but he forced the words out. "I'm not staying here. You hear me? I'm not staying." The house creaked in answer, almost amused, and one of the doors began to open. The hallway stretched longer than it should. Adam Fletcher turned slowly, but the door behind him, the one with the piano and the mirror, was gone. In its place stood another stretch of corridor lined with warped wooden doors. Each door whispered, not all at once, but in shifting patterns, like a chorus of madness. The one closest to him breathed with a low, guttural voice. "Help me," the next whispered with the voice of a child. "Play with me, Adam." The third chuckled softly, a laugh that sounded wet, like something with water in its lungs. Adam's stomach twisted. His name. They knew his name. He gripped the broken chair leg tighter, sweat dripping down his neck. "This isn't real. It's in my head. Just a dream." But the house didn't let him finish the thought. The lights flickered, then surged. For a moment, the corridor stretched impossibly far, hundreds of doors on each side, and at the very end, something moved. A tall shadow, dragging itself closer. Adam forced his legs to move. He grabbed the nearest doorknob that locked. He tried the next, also locked behind him. The voices grew louder, overlapping, rising in pitch. Some screamed, some sang, some whispered his darkest fears back to him. "Your father hated you. She's still waiting for you in the ground. You'll never leave." Adam slammed his shoulder against one door until it burst open with a crack of splintered wood. He stumbled inside and shut it behind him, gasping. The room was small. Dust thickened the air. A single lantern flickered on the table, though he hadn't lit it. It looked like a bedroom, frozen in time. A child's bedroom. A small bed against the wall. Toys scattered across the floor, old wooden dolls. A rocking horse. A stuffed bear with one missing eye. On the dresser sat a music box. It clicked, then began to play by itself, a fragile melody twisting through the silence. Adam's chest tightened. Something about the room felt worse than the hall. He stepped closer to the dresser. The music box's lid was open, but instead of a dancer twirling, the figure inside was a tiny wooden coffin. Its lid rattled with every note. Adam slammed the box shut. The music stopped, but from the bed behind him came a sound of breathing, shallow, childlike. He turned slowly. The sheets rose and fell, as though someone lay beneath them, small, fragile, but the shape didn't look quite right. Too thin, too long in places. "Hello?" Adam whispered, though every instinct told him not to. The breathing stopped. Then, with a violent jolt, the sheets flew back, revealing nothing, just an empty mattress. Adam exhaled shakily. He turned back toward the dresser and froze. The stuffed bear sat upright on the dresser now. Its single glass eye gleamed in the lantern light. Its stitched mouth curved into a smile that hadn't been there before. The bear whispered in a child's voice, "They never leave." "Adam, why would you?" Adam hurled the chair leg at it. The bear toppled, but the voice didn't stop. It echoed through the room, high-pitched laughter spilling from the walls. The door behind him rattled. Something was trying to get in, something heavy. The knob twisted violently. Adam backed against the wall, eyes darting. He spotted another door, small, almost hidden, low to the ground like a crawl space. Without thinking, he dropped to his knees and yanked it open. Darkness gaped inside. The air smelled of earth and rot, but footsteps thundered outside the main door now. He didn't have a choice. Adam crawled into the crawl space and pulled the small door shut behind him. The passage was tight, forcing him to crawl on his elbows. The wood pressed close around him, Cobwebs clung to his face. Somewhere ahead, he heard faint sobbing. Not the echoing madness of the hall, but one clear voice. A girl. Please, help me, please. Adam froze. His heart slammed. Every horror movie he'd ever seen screamed at him not to move closer. But his body betrayed him. His knees shuffled forward through the dark, drawn toward the voice. After several yards, the passage opened into a small chamber. A candle burned in the dirt floor, its flame unmoving despite the stagnant air, and crouched beside it was a girl. She couldn't have been more than 12. Pale, dressed in a tattered nightgown, her long black hair clung to her face. Her eyes were wide, wet with tears. Please, she whispered. You have to get me out. It won't let me leave. Adam's breath caught. She looked real, not like the shadows and whispers from before. Who are you? My name is Lily, she whispered. It keeps us here, all of us. You shouldn't have come. Adam knelt beside her. How do I get out? Her lips trembled. She glanced over his shoulder into the darkness. You don't. Before Adam could respond, the candle blew out. The chamber plunged into blackness, and in the dark, Lily's voice changed. It dropped into something deeper, hollow. But we can stay together. Cold hands clamped around Adam's wrist. Too many hands. Small, childlike fingers gripping his skin. Dozens of them, crawling up from the dirt floor, wrapping around his arms, his legs, dragging him down. Adam screamed and thrashed. His knee struck wood, splintered something loose. He tore free just enough to lunge back toward the crawlspace tunnel. He scrambled through on all fours, scraping his elbows raw. The laughter of children chasing after him. He burst out into another room and slammed the hatch. Shut behind him, Adam lay panting on the floor. His hands shook. His arms bled where the tiny fingers had clawed him. The room around him was different again, bigger. A library, lined with shelves of rotting books. The ceiling stretched high into darkness, and carved into the floorboards, in letters deep enough to bleed, were words. That chilled his spine. We remember them all. Adam stumbled back, eyes wide. He realized something then, something that made his chest tighten with terror. The voices, the portraits, the children. They weren't just ghosts, they were memories. The house was keeping them, every person who ever entered, every soul it had claimed. The Blackthorn House wasn't just haunted, it was alive, and it wanted him. Adam Fletcher staggered backward, his breath sharp and ragged. The words carved into the floorboards glistened with something dark, still wet, as if freshly etched. We remember them all. The library smelled of mold and ash, as though books had been left here to rot for centuries. Yet the lantern on the nearest desk flickered faintly, casting shadows that danced across the shelves. Adam swallowed hard and forced himself to move. His boots creaked on the warped wooden floor. He touched one of the books. The leather binding crumbled under his fingertips. Like old skin, he opened it carefully. Not words, not sentences, names, page after page of handwritten names. Some scratched violently into the paper, others inked in elegant cursive. Each name dated the earliest, 1831, the most recent, 2019, and then he saw it, halfway down the page. Beneath dozens of other names was his own, Adam Fletcher, 2023. His stomach lurched. He stumbled back, dropping the book. It landed with a heavy thud, kicking up a puff of dust. Impossible, he whispered. I just got here. A laugh echoed between the shelves. Not a child this time, deeper male. Old Dot. Adam spun around, gripping his broken chair leg like a weapon. Who's there? The laugh faded, replaced by footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming closer from somewhere between the shelves. Show yourself, Adam shouted, his voice cracking. Silence, then dash thud. A book dropped from a high shelf behind him. Adam whipped around. Nothing, just the book on the floor. He bent cautiously to pick it up. This one was different. Its cover was blackened, charred as though it had been pulled from a fire. No title. He opened it. Inside wasn't names, it was drawings. Page after page of grotesque sketches, corpses hanging from rafters, children with hollow eyes, a family seated at a dining table where their plates held bones and ash. Each drawing, signed with the same initials. H.B. Adam flipped through faster, his breath quickening. On the final page was a drawing of the mansion itself, Blackthorn House, except the windows weren't windows. They were faces, hundreds of them, screaming silently, and in the front yard, a small figure stood, with arms raised. Underneath, written in jagged script, Harlan Blackthorn. Adam's pulse hammered. The name was familiar. He had seen it before, in one of the portraits lining the hall. The man with the dark eyes and cruel smile. A sudden gust of air blew through the library, extinguishing the lantern. Adam's heart leaped into his throat. The shelves groaned. Books slid free one by one, thudding, onto the floor. Then more, and more, until the shelves began to vomit books in cascades. Pages tore loose, fluttering like wings. The air filled with paper, swirling in a violent storm. Adam shielded his face, stumbling backward until his spine hit cold wood. He turned. Another door stood behind him. He didn't hesitate. He yanked it open and shoved his way through, slamming it behind him. The next room was darker still. His hands shook as he fumbled for anything to light. He found an old oil lamp on a table, by some miracle. It lit with a sputtering flame. The room was not a library. It was a study. Books and journals were stacked neatly here, not rotting like in the other room. On the desk sat a ledger. Its cover bore the Blackthorn crest, a raven, clutching a key in its beak. Adam flipped it open. His breath caught. The handwriting was sharp, deliberate, and it wasn't just a ledger. It was a diary. November 12, 1843. The children have been restless. The walls sing with their voices, but the house is pleased. It grows stronger with each offering, stronger with each memory I bind to it. December 3rd, 1843. The townsfolk suspect nothing. They think that disappearances are the work of wolves, of sickness, of wanderers lost in the woods. Fools. They do not see the gift I am building here. January 1st, 1844. I can hear them even now, the ones I've kept. Their cries seep into the beams, their breath into the plaster. The house breathes. The house watches. And soon, the house will be all. Adam's hands trembled. He turned the page. February 9th, 1844. Tonight, another offering. A man who came to my door, lost in the snow. He will feed the foundation. His name shall be remembered here. He shall never leave. At the bottom of the page was a name written in bold. Strokes, Samuel Fletcher. Adam froze. The book slipped from his hands. Samuel Fletcher, his great-grandfather. The room grew colder. His breath fogged in front of him. The lamp's flame wavered, nearly extinguished, and then he heard it directly behind him. A whisper, low and close to his ear. Blood remembers blood. Adam spun around. The study was empty, but in the corner, standing tall in the flickering light, was the portrait of Harlan Blackthorn. His painted eyes glowed faintly, and for the first time, Adam was sure the portrait was smiling wider than before. Adam staggered back, clutching the diary to his chest. His family, his bloodline. Somehow, they were tied to this place. He didn't know how deep the connection ran, but he knew one thing with certainty. Now, the Blackthorn House hadn't chosen him at random. It had been waiting for him. Adam Fletcher clutched the diary to his chest like a lifeline. His great-grandfather's name burned into his mind. Samuel Fletcher. The walls around him seemed to lean closer. The wood groaned, breathing in sync with his panic. This isn't possible, Adam whispered. His voice was thin, shaking. He lived in Massachusetts. He couldn't have the diary thudded open on the desk again, as if the house itself demanded he keep reading. March 4th, 1844. The man fought harder than most. His screams fed the walls long into the night, but his blood sang. The house drank deeply. It whispered to me, his lineage is strong. I must keep watch. Someday, one of his descendants will return to me. One day, the house will claim what it is owed. Adam staggered back, bile rising in his throat. The diary wasn't just history, was prophecy. It had been waiting for him. The air shifted, carrying with it a faint sound. At first Adam thought it was the wind again, sighing through the cracks in the walls. But no, the sound grew clearer. A lullaby, soft, low, and sung by a woman's voice. The melody was one Adam recognized. His grandmother used to hum it when he was a child. His knees weakened. No, he whispered. That's not possible. The voice drifted from the shelves. Adam turned slowly, the lamp shaking in his hand. One of the books pulsed faintly, as if breathing. He reached for it, against every rational thought, against every instinct screaming to leave it alone. His fingers brushed the cover. The book fell open in his hands. Inside was a single pressed flower, wilted, blackened with age, and beneath it, written in flowing ink, Clara Fletcher, taken, 1902. Adam's throat closed. Clara Fletcher, his grandmother's sister, a name he had only ever heard in hushed tones at family gatherings, when relatives shook their heads and muttered about the one they lost. His grandmother never spoke of her. Now he knew why. The flower disintegrated in his hands, crumbling to ash. Adam staggered back, knocking into the desk. The lamp flame wavered, and the lullabies stopped. Silence, then 3 knocks, heavy, deliberate, coming from the wall behind him. Knock, 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 knock. Adam froze. His breath caught in his throat. The knocking grew louder, shaking dust loose from the shelves. The wall trembled. Cracks spidered across the plaster. Then, with a violent shudder, a section of the wall caved inward, collapsing into darkness. Beyond, it was not another room. It was a staircase, stone steps, spiraling down into the earth. The air that wafted up from below reeked of damp soil and iron, sharp like blood. Adam's pulse hammered in his ears. Every part of him screamed to run the other way. But something deeper, something primal dragged him forward. The house had carved his family into its bones. If he wanted to understand why, if he wanted any hope of surviving, he had to follow. Step by step, Adam descended. The walls were slick with moisture, the stones cold under his fingers. The further he went, the colder the air became. His breath fogged in the dim lamplight. Halfway down, he heard whispers. Not voices echoing in the hallways above, but hushed, intimate whispers, directly in his ear. Blood remembers blood. You belong here. We've been waiting. Adam clenched his jaw, forcing himself not to respond. At the bottom of the staircase, he stepped into a vast chamber. His lamp barely lit the edges, but what he saw froze his blood. The room was circular. The walls were lined with alcoves, and in each alcove lay a body, not skeletons preserved. Their flesh dried and leathery, but intact. Men, women, children. Their eyes were sewn shut with black thread. Dozens of them. Adam gagged, the bile burning his throat. His light swept across their faces, and his stomach clenched tighter. Some of the faces bore resemblance to his own, the same jawline, the same cheekbones. His ancestors. A stone altar stood in the center of the chamber. Carved into it were the same words he'd seen upstairs. We remember them all, but beneath that, in fresh, wet letters that gleamed crimson in the lamplight, was a new phrase. Welcome home, Adam. The lamp flickered violently. Shadows lengthened across the chamber, and as Adam staggered back, a sound filled the air, a slow, deliberate heartbeat, not his own. The house itself was beating, and it was speeding up. The heartbeat grew louder, slow, steady at first, then quickening, like a drum of war. Adam clutched the lamp, his knuckles white. The chamber pulsed with each beat. The walls seemed to shiver, dust raining from the ceiling. He stumbled toward the altar, unable to stop himself. His legs moved as though pulled by invisible strings. On the altar lay another book, smaller than the diary, bound in red leather. It glistened wet, as if it were made of living skin. The lamp flames sputtered when he drew close. His name was burned into the cover. Adam Fletcher Auden froze. No, 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 no. His breath came fast, shallow. The book vibrated beneath the thin layer of dust, as though it was breathing. The heartbeat quickened. Adam reached for it, then snatched his hand back, shaking his head violently. This is insane. I'm not part of this. But when he looked up, the alcoves along the walls were no longer silent. The preserved bodies twitched. Their sewn eyelids trembled. Their chests heaved as if taking breath for the first time in decades. Adam staggered back, nearly dropping the lamp. His voice broke in a hoarse whisper. No. The closest corpse opened its mouth. Stitches tore, black threads snapping and curling away. A voice rasped from the dried throat. Read it. Adam screamed, swinging the lamp toward it. The flame illuminated a withered face that looked almost familiar. Too familiar. It was Samuel Fletcher, his ancestor. The others joined, their voices, a rising chorus, cracking with rot. Read it, read it, read it. The sound grew unbearable, echoing against stone. Adam dropped to his knees, clutching his ears. Stop, please stop. The lamp flickered out. Darkness swallowed him. Only the heartbeat remained, pounding in his skull. Faster, louder, unrelenting. And then, another sound, wet, squelching, like something massive and alive, shifting in the shadows. Adam's eyes adjusted, just enough to see movement. The far wall rippled, as though the stone itself was made of flesh. Veins glowed faintly beneath the surface, pulsing with each beat. His stomach turned cold. He wasn't just standing in a chamber. He was standing inside the house's heart. The realization stole his breath. The walls shuddered, exhaling a hot, fetid gust of air. A voice filled the chamber, deep, guttural, layered with 1,000 echoes. You are the blood. You are the promise. You are mine. Adam's body locked in place. His chest tightened until he couldn't breathe. The book on the altar snapped open on its own, pages fluttering violently before settling. A single blank page stared back at him, and then, as he watched in horror, words began carving themselves into it. Letters gouged into the paper by invisible hands, smoking as they burned. Write your name, Adam. Complete the circle. Bind the house forever. His hand twitched. He felt a pressure in his arm, pulling him forward. His fingers closed around a quill that hadn't been there before, its tip dripping with fresh black ink. He fought against it, his body trembling violently. No, I won't do this. The chamber shook. The voices screamed. The corpses writhed in their alcoves, mouths gaping, black fluid spilling from their teeth. Right eye. Adam's vision blurred. His hand inched closer to the page. The quill trembled above the parchment, a single drop of ink falling like blood, and then the lamp sparked back to life. A burst of flame, brighter than before. The shadows recoiled. The corpses fell silent, and from the darkness beyond the altar, a figure stepped forward. A man, tall, pale, dressed in black, with eyes like hollow pits. His presence sucked the air from the room. Adam knew that face. He had seen it in the portraits, in the sketches, in the diary. Harlan Blackthorn, but not painted, not drawn, alive, or something close to alive. Harlan's voice was silk wrapped around razors. At last, he whispered, lips curling into a smile. The blood returns, the circle will close, and the house will breathe eternal. Adam staggered back, the lamp trembling in his hands. His voice cracked. "You should be dead." Harlan's smile widened, teeth sharp and glistening. "The house does not let me die, and neither will it let you leave." The chamber pulsed harder. The altar shook. The book snapped shut with a deafening crack. Adam backed toward the staircase, desperate, but Harlan's shadow stretched impossibly far, slamming the door closed with a thunderous boom. "You cannot run from your blood," Harlan said, stepping closer. "You are already mine." Adam's heart pounded. His grip tightened on the lamp. He had one thought, one chance. If the house fed on blood, maybe it could burn to dust. He raised the lamp high. "Then come and take me." And he hurled the lamp onto the altar. The explosion of fire was instant. Flames roared across the chamber, licking the walls, racing along the veins in the stone. The corpses shrieked as black threads split and smoke poured from their mouths. The altar cracked, spilling blood like molten lava. Harlan's scream shook the chamber. A sound not human, but something ancient and monstrous. The stairwell behind Adam burst open, the way clear once more. He didn't hesitate. He ran, the heat clawing at his back. The roar of the burning house chasing him up into the darkness above. Adam burst up the stone staircase, lungs heaving, the roar of fire behind him. The chamber below was a furnace now, flames devouring the walls. Shrieking voices carried upward with the smoke. The house shook as if in agony, timbers groaning like bones about to snap. Adam slammed through the opening into the library and collapsed to his knees. He coughed, choking on soot. His skin burned with the heat radiating from below. For a fleeting moment, he thought he had done it, that the fire would consume it all, the altar, the corpses, the diary, even Harlan Blackthorn himself. But then the laughter came, low, mocking, rising through the floorboards like smoke. "Did you think flame could harm me?" Adam's blood froze. The voice was inside his head, crawling behind his eyes. He staggered to his feet, backing away from the hidden stairwell. The fire below should have roared upward, but instead, the flames twisted unnaturally, pulling back, retreating into the stone like water down a drain. And with them, the screams. Silence. The hole sealed itself shut. Adam's lamp was gone, shattered on the altar. The library was plunged into near darkness, only a pale, unnatural glow bleeding from the cracks in the walls. The house was breathing again, faster, stronger. Adam stumbled toward the doorway, desperate to find an exit. But when he pushed open the door to the hall, the house had changed. The corridor stretched impossibly long, wallpaper peeled, dripping with black ichor. Doors lined the hallway, too many doors, none of which had been there before. Behind each door, whispers hissed his name. Adam, Adam, Adam. He pressed a trembling hand to the nearest doorknob. It was ice cold. Against his better judgment, he turned it. The door creaked open. Inside was his childhood bedroom, his posters on the wall, his baseball glove on the shelf, the quilt his grandmother had made, everything as it had been when he was 8 years old. Adam's breath caught. This isn't real. A small figure sat on the bed, back turned to him, shoulders shaking. "Hello," Adam whispered. The figure turned. It was him, a younger Adam Fletcher, eyes wide, cheeks wet with tears. "You shouldn't have come here," the boy said, his voice trembling. Adam's stomach dropped. What are you?" The boy's expression hardened. His eyes rolled back into black voids. His mouth split, open far too wide, stretching ear to ear. "I am what you left behind." The child lunged. Adam slammed the door shut, heart racing. The handle rattled violently behind him, the door buckling inward. He sprinted down the corridor, past door after door. Each one showed him something new, a reflection of his life, twisted into nightmares. His parents' funeral. The coffins open and empty. His grandmother, sitting in her rocking chair, blood pouring from her mouth as she hummed a lullaby. himself, older, hanging from a noose, the word traitor carved into his chest. He ran faster, his vision blurred with panic. The whispers grew louder, turning into screams. At last he stumbled into another room, the dining hall. Only it was wrong. The long table was set for a feast. Plates gleamed, silverware polished. Dozens of chairs were filled. Adam froze when he saw who sat there, every Fletcher he had ever known. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them, pale and motionless, eyes sewn shut. At the head of the table sat Harlan Blackthorn. His pale face gleamed in the sickly light, lips curled into a grotesque smile. "Sit," Harlan said, gesturing to the empty chair at his side. "Your place has been waiting." Adam backed away, voice shaking. "You can't control me." Harlan rose slowly, his movements elegant, almost regal. His shadow spread across the floor like ink. "You misunderstand, Adam," he said. "The house does not trap you. It remembers you. You are not a prisoner here. You are the heir." The corpses at the table shifted, their heads turning toward Adam in perfect unison. Their mouths tore open, stitches snapping. "Welcome home." The dining hall erupted in shrieks. Plates shattered. Silverware clanged. Blood poured from the ceiling, dripping onto the feast. Adam screamed, stumbling back, and fell through the floor. He landed hard on cold stone. Groaning, he pushed himself up. He was back in the circular chamber. The altar stood intact, the book waiting unburned. The corpses stared with stitched eyes. It was as if the fire had never happened. Harlan's voice curled around him like smoke. "You cannot fight the house, Adam. You cannot burn blood. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink." The altar throbbed like a living heart. The book opened to the blank page once more. Adam's hands shook. He clenched his fists, fighting the urge to reach for the quill. But a new sound cut through. The suffocating air, a whisper, faint, different from the others. "Adam, don't." He turned, eyes wide. In the shadows stood a woman, pale, fragile, her hair falling in waves over her shoulders. His grandmother's sister, Clara Fletcher. Her sewn eyes bled as she reached toward him. "You can still break the curse, but not alone." The corpses stirred. Harlan hissed in fury, and the house's heartbeat grew thunderous. Shaking the stones, the chamber shook violently, dust cascading from the ceiling. Adam pressed his back against the wall, staring in disbelief at the figure emerging from the shadows. Clara Fletcher's body was frail, her skin waxy and cracked. The black stitches that once sealed her eyelids were torn, her eyes too hollow, sockets that dripped with thin trails of blood. Yet her voice was clear, steady, human. "Adam, the house is a parasite. It feeds, it binds, but it can be broken." The corpses stirred in their alcoves, as if agitated by her words. Threads snapped, hands twitched. Their whispers rose into a storm. "Lies, lies, lies." Harlan's voice cut through them all, low, commanding, furious. "Do not listen to her. She betrayed the blood once before. She will do so again." Clara turned her head toward him, her mouth trembling into a grimace. "And yet I'm still here, bound in chains of your making." Her gaze empty, but piercing, shifted back to Adam. "You can end this, Adam, but you cannot do it with fire. You cannot do it with running. The house's heart must be pierced with the blood key." Adam swallowed hard. His throat was dry. The blood key. What the hell is that? Clara staggered forward, each step leaving a smear of blood on the stone. Her hands trembled as she pointed toward the altar. The book. Inside, it hides more than words. Within its pages lies the key, made from bone, Blackthorn's bone. Only blood of his line can wield it. The altar pulsed harder, veins in the stone glowing bright red. The book opened by itself, pages flipping wildly until it landed on one that bulged, swollen as if something was trapped inside. Adam's stomach turned. He could see it. something white jutting against the paper. A shard of bone fused into the page. Harlan's face darkened. His voice rose like thunder. Enough. The corpses wrenched free from their alcoves, stumbling forward, mouths gaping, black ichor spilling from their throats. Their sewn eyes split open, revealing nothing but hollow sockets crawling with worms. Adam backed toward the altar, torn between terror and resolve. Clara's voice cut through the chaos, sharp as glass. Take it, or you will never leave this place alive. Adam's heart hammered. His hands shook violently as he reached for the book. The page pulsed beneath his fingers, hot like living flesh. He tore at the bulge. The paper ripped open with a wet sound, and there it was. The blood key, a jagged piece of ivory white bone, carved into the shape of a crude dagger, its handle wrapped in blackened sinew. The moment he touched it, fire surged up his arm, burning through his veins. He screamed, dropping to his knees. The chamber spun. Images flashed in his mind, seared into him like brands. Harlan Blackthorn, carving into his own rib with a knife, whispering in tongues as the house drank his blood. The first Fletcher, bound in chains, forced to sign his name in the book with that very rib. Generations of his bloodline feeding the house, one after another, each believing escape was possible. Adam gasped, collapsing against the altar. The key pulsed in his grip like a living thing. Harlan advanced, his shadow stretching long and monstrous. His eyes glowed like black fire. You cannot wield it. It is mine. My blood, my gift, my curse. Adam staggered to his feet, raising the bone dagger. If it came from you, then it can end you. The corpses shrieked, clawing toward him, but Clara stepped forward, her broken body shielding him. Her voice was raw but unyielding. Strike the heart, Adam. End it before the house takes you too. The floor split open. The altar cracked. Beneath it, the flesh-like wall of the chamber pulsed violently, glowing with red veins. The true heart of the house. Adam lifted the dagger high, his body trembling with rage, fear, and something else, something ancient, coursing through his blood. Harlan's scream shook the chamber. If you strike yourself. The house is in you. Adam's hand wavered, his vision blurred. He felt the heartbeat inside his own chest sync with the one in the walls. One the same. The key shook in his grip. Sweat poured down his face. His teeth clenched. He realized the truth. If he stabbed the heart, he might not survive. The bloodline might die with him. Behind him, Clara cried out. Better to end a curse than to live as its prisoner. Harlan roared, his form twisting, elongating, bones snapping, flesh unraveling, until he towered over Adoma, grotesque titan of shadows and sinew. The true form of Blackthorn, born of blood and rot. Adam's scream tore through the chamber as he raised the dagger. The heart pulsed. The house shrieked, and he drove the blood key down. The bone dagger plunged into the pulsing wall of flesh. The chamber erupted. The stone floor cracked wide open, vomiting blood like a geyser. Screams filled the air, not just from the corpses, but from the walls themselves, as if the entire house had a voice. Adam staggered backward, gripping the blood key with both hands. The blade quivered inside the heart, fighting to push itself back out. Veins whipped from the altar like serpents, lashing his arms and legs, trying to tear him away. But Adam held on, screaming, driving the blade deeper. Then came the roar. Harlan. Blackthorn's monstrous form rose from the shadows, towering above Adam, his body no longer human. His torso split open, ribs like jagged wings. His face melted and reformed with every word, sometimes his own, sometimes others, a chorus of every Fletcher who had ever died within these walls. You are mine, Adam. You always were. Harlan's hand, a massive claw of bone and rot, slammed down toward him. Adam rolled aside, just as the claw crushed the altar into rubble. Shards of stone rained down. Clara shrieked from across the chamber, her voice trembling but commanding. Don't. Let go. The key only answers blood. Adam scrambled to his feet, veins bulging in his neck, the key glowing white-hot in his grip. He charged, plunging it again into the throbbing heart. Harlan howled. The walls split wider. Blood poured like rivers. The corpses that had once lined the chamber burst into flames, writhing and collapsing, their screams echoing into nothing. But the house fought back. The floor warped, folding upward into jagged spires of bone. Doors ripped themselves open along the walls, vomiting torrents of black smoke. Out of the smoke crawled horror's faceless things with elongated limbs, dragging themselves closer. Whispering in voices Adam knew, his parents, his grandmother, even his own voice calling his name. Adam, come with us. Don't resist. It hurts less if you don't fight. Adam roared, swinging the dagger wildly, slashing through the wraith-like figures. Each one exploded into ash with a hiss, but more poured through the doors. Harlan advanced, his shadow blanketing the chamber, his many faces twisted in fury. You think you are ending this curse? Fool, you are feeding it. Every strike, every drop of blood you make the house stronger. Adam's grip faltered, his vision blurred as the truth gnawed at him. The dagger pulsed in his hand, almost pulling him toward Harlan instead of the heart. Clara staggered closer, blood dripping from her hollow eyes. She screamed over the chaos. Listen to me, Adam. The house lies. IT is a parasite. IT cannot survive the death of its host. Finish IT. Adam clenched his teeth. He forced the blade deeper. The heart convulsed, spraying him with black ichor. His body burned as though his veins were on fire. He fell to his knees, screaming, but refused to let go. The ground shook harder. The library above collapsed, books and timbers crashing through the hole. Flames ignited again, this time spreading faster, climbing the walls as though eager to consume. Harlan shrieked, his monstrous body convulsing, faces screaming in unison. His wings of bone splintered and cracked, his form destabilizing. He staggered toward Adam, desperate. With the last of his strength, Adam pulled the dagger, free, then plunged it again, deeper than before. The heart split open with a sound like thunder. Light burst from the wound, blinding, searing. For the first time, Adam heard something new. Silence. The whispers were gone. The house's voice was gone. Only Harlan's scream remained. The monstrous figure thrashed, tearing at his own flesh, his form unraveling into smoke and ash. His many faces collapsed inward, each one shrieking in agony as they were sucked back into the bleeding walls. The house was collapsing. Clara stumbled forward, her skeletal hands reaching for Adam. It's done. It's breaking. You must leave before it takes you with it. The ground split. The stairwell reappeared, only this time it was crumbling away into darkness. Flames licked the edges, devouring wood and stone alike. Adam wrenched the blood key from the heart, his arm numb, his chest heaving. He ran behind him. The chamber imploded, dragging everything inward. Screams, centuries of them, rose in one final crescendo. The house above warped as he burst into the library. Walls twisted like wax, doors folded in on themselves. Windows shattered outward, glass flying like shards of ice. Adam sprinted through the collapsing corridors. Hallways stretched and shrank, doors slammed shut, staircases buckled underfoot. At one point he swore he was running in circles, the same hallway repeating again and again. But then through the smoke, through the chaos, he saw it. The front door, the same door he had stepped through on the first night. It stood open, waiting. Adam's chest burned, his body screaming with exhaustion. He hurled himself forward, every muscle tearing. Behind him, Harlan's final roar shook the air. You are Fletcher. You are mine. Adam dove through the door, and everything went white. White light consumed everything. Adam hit the ground hard, rolling across wet grass. His lungs gasped at the cold night air, free of dust and ash. For the first time in what felt like years, he heard nothing but the chirping of crickets, the rustle of leaves in the wind. He was outside. The Blackthorn house loomed before him, or rather, what was left of it. The mansion twisted and groaned, timbers snapping, windows exploding outward as fire chewed through its bones. The roof collapsed inward with a thunderous crash. The land itself seemed to shudder, like the earth wanted to vomit the house from its skin. Adam staggered to his feet, clutching the blood key. His hands were burned raw, his face streaked with soot and blood. Every muscle screamed, but he was alive. The house shrieked a sound that wasn't fire or wood, but a voice. 1,000 voices, torn into one. They rose like a storm, and then fell silent as the structure imploded, dragged into itself until nothing remained but a smoldering crater. Adam fell to his knees, staring at the ruins. His chest heaved, his body shaking. It was over, or so he thought. The dagger burned in his hand. He looked down. The sinew-wrapped handle pulsed faintly, still alive, still hungry, and then he felt it. The heartbeat not from the earth, not from the ruins, from within his own chest. Thud, 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 too strong, too loud, too wrong. Adam clutched his chest, doubling over. His vision blurred, not from smoke, but from something crawling under his skin. Black veins spidered up his arms, pulsing. With each beat, he dropped the blood key, but it didn't fall. It clung to his palm, fused into his flesh, as if his skin was trying to swallow it. No, 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 no. His voice broke, his breath ragged. He dug his nails into his wrist, trying to pry it free, but the dagger's roots had already sunk into him. A whisper slithered into his ear, familiar, intimate. You struck the heart. You became the heart. Adam screamed, stumbling back. His eyes darted to the crater where, for the briefest moment, he saw a figure standing among the smoke. Harlan, Blackthorn, no longer monstrous, no longer towering, just a man, smiling faintly, his eyes burning black. You cannot kill blood, Adam, Harlan whispered. You can only pass it on. The vision vanished in the smoke, but the voice remained, now inside Adam's head. Clara's words echoed, her final warning, better to end a curse than to live as its prisoner. Adam sank to the grass, his body trembling violently. He raised the dagger high, pointing it at his own chest. His breath came in gasps, his hand shaking. If he drove it into his heart now, he could end it, end himself, end the curse. But his hand froze. Somewhere deep within, the house pulsed. A voice purred, wrapping around his thoughts like a lover's whisper. Not yet. You have so much to give. Tears streaked Adam's soot-stained face. His hand trembled, but he couldn't bring the blade down. His body betrayed him. His blood betrayed him. The dawn began to break over the horizon. Birds sang. The world looked normal again, but Adam knew the truth. He stood slowly. The dagger fused to his hand, the pulse in his chest, no longer his own. His eyes caught his reflection in the sheen of the blade only for a second. But enough, it wasn't his face, it was Harlan's. Adam staggered down the dirt path, away from the ruins of Blackthorn House. His shadow stretched long behind him in the morning light, warped, twisted, no longer human. Somewhere deep in his chest, the house beat on, patient, hungry, eternal, and Adam Fletcher walked into the dawn, carrying the curse forward.